In June 2013 at WWDC, Apple announced a new version of iOS with a completely new design. And the presentation began with this animation. It was a visual revolution. Most design elements were completely reinvented, yet the very first moment, the way the logo appears, deserves a second look. The animation of circles and lines introduces a new icon shape and a fresh approach to rounding with what appeared to be a 12-pixel radius. Look closer and you'll notice something unusual. These corners aren't the simple rounded ones used in earlier iOS versions. It's not even a square anymore. Mathematicians call the shape a squircle. That subtle shift ushered in a new chapter of Apple's design philosophy and helped shape the visual future we know today. It signaled the birth of an entirely new UI design paradigm. This video dives into the story behind a seemingly small design detail that sparked a visual revolution: the Super Ellipse. We'll explore its origins from a 19th century mathematical concept to its game-changing appearance in Apple's iOS 7. Discover why this specific shape feels so right, how it influenced a new era of UI design, and how Nokia inspired Apple with its failure. While the Nokia chapter unfolded about 15 years back, the origins of the Super Ellipse itself lie deep in the 19th century. Back when icons weren't even a thing, unless of course you count religious paintings, which, let's be honest, had pretty sharp corners. At that time, a very smart mathematician, Gabriel Lamé, lived and worked in France. He enjoyed inventing new shapes and describing them with formulas. And that officially was the most fun entertainment you could find in the early 19th century. Assuming, of course, you were born into the 1% who weren't peasants or slaves. One such shape he devised became very famous: the Super Ellipse, a transformer shape. Do you know what an ellipse is? It's as if you took a circle and stretched it a bit sideways or up and down. You get an oval shape. Now imagine that the ellipse has a magic handle that you can turn. Turn it one way. The ellipse becomes more plump and at some point turns into a regular circle. Start turning it further. It can transform into a shape resembling a rectangle with very smoothly rounded corners. And if you turn this handle in the other direction, our ellipse can become like a rhombus. This shape, capable of such transformations, is called the Super Ellipse. Super, because it's like more than just an ellipse. It can be different. Engineer-mathematician Piet Hein later used the Super Ellipse to design a large traffic plaza in Stockholm. It turned out both beautiful and convenient for cars. Not quite round and not quite rectangular, but something in between, and very smooth. Piet Hein's plaza showcased the Super Ellipse's power in physical form, often taking the specific shape of a squircle. Decades later, this very type of shape, the squircle, essentially a super ellipse with equal axes, made its groundbreaking appearance in the digital realm featured by Tim Cook. Mathematics, geometry, all clear. But why is a junction of this particular shape more convenient than just rounded corners or a simple circle? And why is this good for design? Simple rounded corners force a sharp turn when you reach the corner. The same with your eyes. You see where the line is straight and where the rounding begins. It results in a composite shape, a square with trimmed corners. Ultimately, there isn't much of this precision in nature, and we need more complex forms, fractals, golden ratios, and super ellipses for a sense of visual harmony. And the main thing specifically about this shape is the feeling of continuity. Unlike a rounded square, where the rounded corner directly transitions into a straight line, in a squircle, the line and corner curve smoothly together, forming a slightly more circular and smooth shape. Driving a car along such a shape, you don't reach a turn, but gradually, continuously enter it. By the way, why not a circular junction? It's simple. City blocks are built in squares, and fitting a circular junction there would require much more free space. The difference might be unnoticeable to the untrained eye, but it contributes to a subconscious perception of higher quality and sophistication. It's a detail that just feels right. And remember, we talked about 12 pixels? This is exactly about that. 12 pixels is what designers noticed immediately. 12 pixels is an illusion. In iOS 6, the rounding of square icons was 10 pixels. In iOS 7, they appeared smoother and it seemed like 12 pixels. Designers not using guidelines thought, here, we add 2 pixels, the rounding becomes stronger, and there we are. But it didn't work. If you drew an icon with this rounding, it simply didn't match what was in iOS 7. The ideologue behind this change was Apple's chief designer, Jony Ive, during the transition to the minimalistic flat design of iOS 7. In 2016, a few years after squiggles gained prominence in iOS, a study titled Preference for Curvature was published in Frontiers of Human Neuroscience, which confirmed the effectiveness of this formula. Squircles, by maximizing smoothness, enhance positive emotional response. Apple's use of squircles taps into innate human psychological preferences for curved, smooth forms, thereby creating a stronger emotional connection with their products. By choosing a shape that is inherently more pleasant and less threatening than even a standard rounded rectangle, Apple subtly enhances user comfort and positive emotions. This contributes to the overall perception of their products as user-friendly, going beyond mere usability to encompass emotional well-being. Let's be honest, rounded corners are already friendly and safe enough, and bringing everything to Super Ellipses adds another 0.5% to this feeling. Details that require considerable effort. Is it really worth it? Yes, for two reasons. The first is down to earth. If all companies have this positivity and safety at 96% and yours is at 96.5%, you suddenly become number one among all others. And secondly, in this particular case, Jony's plan was more global. His task was to unify the experience. Apple had been moving towards smooth roundings for some time. The iPhone cannot be called a super ellipse in the literal sense, but its roundings are softened according to squircle rules, where some degree of curvature continues for some time after the rounding itself, striving for that same continuity. And the closer these objects, digital or physical, are to the human eye during use, the greater the percentage of this softening is used. The squircle in iOS icons is not just a beautiful shape. It is a conscious echo of the physical objects that users hold in their hands, reinforcing the Apple feel on both material and immaterial levels. And it's amazing that by adding complexity, seemingly, a seamless, unified ecosystem of design decisions is created, which ultimately seems and feels more cohesive and simple, and there is value in that.
I think there is a profound and enduring beauty in simplicity.
No, Apple did not invent the squircle or the principle of continuous curvature. These ideas existed and were used before. Yes, Apple played a huge role in making this style truly mainstream and popular, specifically in the design of consumer electronics, like phones, computers, watches, and in digital interfaces, for example, app icons. They showed the whole world how it could look beautiful and modern on products everyone uses. And now for a twist. 2 years before iOS 7, the Nokia N9 running MIGO was released. Look at the icons. They are squircles. And it's a flat design. For example, this is what iOS 5, released in the same year, looked like. And in 2011, Nokia was already a sinking ship, but nevertheless a noticeable big player. And of course, it's highly probable that MIGO influenced how iOS 7 looked, or at least the timing when Apple decided to bring this approach to curvature into their software. And all this makes enormous sense if you know more about who Jony Ive is in the design world. Because despite all the positive influence and important things he did, well, you'd better watch our separate video about it, Apple's Design Decline. I've seen it all.